Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video. Today, going to be talking about an announcement that happened just in the last 24 hours of recording this video. And it's that DaZed, the former in-game leader for the notorious iBuyPower team, who was recently unbanned by some tournament organizers, most notably ESL. I believe DreamHack may have followed suit, a few others. Well, anyway, he's announced his retirement after a very short space of time playing in a team that he had put together with AZK and Swag, who were also banned in the iBuyPower incident. And he said he's throwing in the towel. He's had enough. It's been a few months. A lot of people were excited when he said he was going to come back. A lot of people have been following the GX games. I've certainly watched a bunch of them. I'd always hoped to maybe commentate for one of them, although my schedule's been absolutely crazy. And they're still going to exist as a team, but that's not what I want to talk about today. We're going to focus on DaZed and, of course, the community reaction to this, which has been absolutely fucking absurd. Spoiler, I'm going to be calling out a lot of you so-called fans in this video. If you're the type of person who might get triggered by that, you should probably fuck off because it's going to upset you, no doubt. But let's just take a look. This is the tweet itself. I'm going to step down from playing competitively. I told the guys get a new play for me. I just don't have the motivation or drive. And you can see a few people have jumped in, as always happens with these things. You'll notice some of the names. You'll recognize some of them. That's just the nature of the beast. But it does seem to have come out of left field, I guess, if you haven't been following what's been going on. So let's just assess a few factors here prior to sort of judging the decision. A lot of people have taken the decision negatively. A lot of people on Reddit have been saying DaZed should go on and play for us, the community who stood by him. I mean, that's the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard. I'll go into more depth about that in a moment. But let's be real, okay? DaZed may have been unbanned, but it's not an unban. For me, being unbanned would be a recognition that the people in the iBuyPower team have paid their debt to society, or whatever you want to call it, and they're now free to pursue the careers same as any other player would be able to. Now, I'm not against lifetime bans for certain things, but I guess I have a very different perspective. I think if you were a serial match fixer and you had been involved in a sprawling criminal conspiracy, yes, I suppose I would like you away from Counter-Strike for life. But I consider the people who ran these rigged casinos, who ran these fake case opening sites, these people and the people who advertised these services knowing fine well they were scams, they are more detrimental to the fabric of Counter-Strike than players who have thrown one meaningless game for next to no profit whatsoever. So for me, to call it an unban is absurd. Some tournament organizers decided they could play again in their leagues, and they didn't mind having any potential friction with Valve. And to be clear, Valve have never intimated to any tournament organizer, if you unban them, we will hold that against you. That's not Valve's style. That's not how they operate as a company. Valve simply tell you, do what you think is best for your business. That's how we operate as well. So to call it an unban is ridiculous. And let's think about what it means. Because you can't compete at the highest level, because you can't compete at a major, because many tournaments that have like $250,000 prize funds or above aren't going to allow these players to compete. There's still a few that are holding out. My understanding is I think they're still banned from Face It, and probably there's a few others out there as well. And some just haven't made statements one way or the other at all. Now, because of that, it means you can, DaZed in particular, can only play with players that are willing to sacrifice that portion of their career or are already banned in the same way he is. He's got two players that applies to, and he's got two inexperienced players who he's developing as a talent. But you're not going to have like an incredible talent pool to draw from if you're DaZed. DaZed was used to being able to put together the best team in North America consistently using the players he wanted at any time. Now, you can talk about the wrongs and the rights about him being able to do that. You can talk about what it says about the NA scene that he was able to do that. That's a debate for a separate video. It's just the reality. DaZed put together the best team in NA consistently. He could have any player he wanted. He always got the sponsorships. He always got people to the promised land of being the best team in NA. He can't do that now. In the egocentric North American scene, no player is going to sacrifice the potential to play in a major just to roll up with DaZed anymore. Those days are gone, unfortunately. And to even get into the top rung of the ladders and leagues that they are allowed to compete in, they're going to have to grind through qualifiers, low-level leagues, the kind of games that DaZed has probably never played in at any point in his career. Think about that. You know, this is a guy who, from the moment Source was established as being an esport, DaZed has been in top teams. He's been the captain of all of those top teams. So the idea now of grinding against kind of lesser opposition, it's galling for any pro. You know, nobody called out like Virtus Pro or any of these teams that get like relegated and say, you know what, we're not going to play these shit games. We just forfeit for this season. Nobody calls it out because it's bad in a way. You're denying the experience to lesser players to play a great team, but also from a pro perspective, I can understand it, even if I don't agree with it. And that is, what do they get out of these games? Now, for DaZed, the whole point of GX was that they were going to get good fundamentals. He was going to develop some talented players to go alongside the other band players that were playing with them. And they were eventually going to grind through these ladders and leagues and hopefully get to the promised land. Well, things haven't been going well. Right? We've all watched the games. We've all watched the results. It's been a bit of a clown fiesta at times. And it must be incredibly frustrating because I think the map, the road ahead that is laid out for him is so unbelievably long that it probably feels like a Herculean task that, you know, you don't know if you're ever going to get to the point for the whole purpose that you're doing it for. What's it going to take? A year? 2 years? Things just ain't the fucking same. They ain't what they used to be. And DaZed, I think, has woke up to this slice of life, this reality within which he exists. I don't think there's any bad thing about that. Also, as well, understand the other purpose of this team. They have to play and they have to get into these top leagues, top ladders, top tournaments, place well, good results, to get an organization that's going to be willing to salary the players. And at the moment, because they're not playing in these top tier tournaments, they're leveraging their own, the players are leveraging their own personal brand to try and get an organization to sign them up. Well, that's all they would offer the organization, and that probably means that any organization that would pick them up would have to be smaller than their own personal brands anyway for it to be worth their while. And that means a reduction in resources, a reduction in salary, a reduction in money, in which case you're better off just keeping to yourself and staying to yourself and streaming and making money. So all of that is just a tough, hard reality to be in if you're a team. I mean, look, and all teams go through that reality, but it's a bit different if you're like a Gale Force, right, to be doing that, or to be a player who has consistently throughout his career been involved in the best in the continent. It's just the reality. It sucks to have to go from up there to down there, and knowing that you're going to have to clamber all the way back to the top, and this time the journey is going to be harder than it's ever been before for you. Also, I got to say that people's expectations for this team were just stupidly off the charts. I mean, I saw some absolute idiotic assessments of this team's ability. People saying, oh, you know, they should be invited to all of the top teams in the world, leagues in the world. That'll show Valve. Like, guys, they would get fucking stomped on. They literally wouldn't be able to compete as they are now. They will tell you this. Why do you think they would be? You're dealing with young players, two players who've been out of the game for a long period of time, right, at a serious competitive level. One guy who fucking was playing another game prior to this in the form of Overwatch. What do you expect? Do you really think that they're just going to be able to draw from their experience, like, just suck the life force out of the fucking game and somehow, we're better now, we're back to... No, it doesn't work that way. It was always going to take time. And unfortunately, as a result of that, the community reaction every time they lost was fucking insane. I mean, I read all the threads. I'm going to show you some in a moment. But Jesus Christ, this team was never going to be the top team in America overnight, not within 3 months, probably not within 6 months, if there was a chance of it ever happening. Think about what's gone on in NA in the interim, by the way. All those false dawns, all those shit teams, all the underachievers with the big salaries. Now, all of a sudden, for once, the first time in CSGO history, they have 2 teams in the top 10 in the world competing on an international level. And y'all think GX is going to just suddenly, like, come back. What world are you living in? That's a storyline that would be too absurd for the WWE. So I felt super sorry for them because the scrutiny and the belief and the expectation were just so unrealistic. And I don't think anybody on that team bought into that. I mean, I saw a clip of DaZed where he jokingly said, oh, now that we've beat Rise Nation, we're top 3 in the world, and I think people thought he was being serious. He said it's so deadpan and flat. It's very clear to me that he knew then just how tough it was going to be and how ridiculous it was that people thought they were going to be world beaters overnight. Now, here's another factor why everybody was jumping on DaZed's ass. Well, first, actually, let's just get into this. I'm going to show you just how much work there was to be done in this team. This was a 16-14. This is a clip from a 16-14 win over Denial, who are by no means, great shake or anything like that. But here it is, right? Just watch the comms. Watch how much of a shit show this actually is. And this is like a little bit into their tenure, you know?
That's a big...
Good job.
Okay, wait. Do we want to double up here, Rex?
Yeah, get it.
Okay, get the other one to beat.
Throw
him that one, boy.
I'm not gonna have a gun. Fuck. I can't get it.
Okay, just leave off.
Wait,
we have a bunch of money, it's fine. I could drop.
I have a lot of money.
Too far away.
I need a drop.
Okay, Rex.
I can drop.
I need a gun.
Do we have another pause?
Someone else drop.
Do I need to drop again?
No, we can pause.
Alright.
Okay. We're good. Oh my god.
What's good?
Oh my fucking god.
What's happening?
Bro. Alright, hold on. Chill out.
Bro, you guys said the op was car, right?
Yes.
I could.
Now, this is chaotic, and they're laughing about it, sure, but this is after a while. So this is the fundamentals, the communication in the team after a while. People panicking like, oh, shit, I wanted to get this gun. I dropped this gun. Can we get a pause? Do we have a pause? What's going on with the money? And it should just highlight that people were being massively unrealistic about where these guys are. This was a completely brand new team built from scratch with players who either hadn't played with each other before or hadn't played with each other for years, that were relying on pugging experience in things like FPL and Rank S. And it was going to... That's how fundamentally fucked it was. They're the building blocks. Again, I know Sam won't mind me saying this. That kind of chaotic, horrible communication will drive him fucking insane. Because what Sam's always wanted, his philosophy in all of the teams, were no superfluous information being passed around. People have got to listen to the calls, listen to the voice, and remember I'm the leader, and listen to what I'm saying. And don't overtalk and don't overcall. Just listen, and if you follow my instructions, we'll win. Some people might not like that. Some people say that's a bit authoritarian. People don't seem to mind when it's Zeus. Sam is the exact same way. And I'll show you now some of the reactions to some of these matches that they lost. And in particular, this is where I think the point was where DaZed probably knew he was going to throw in the towel. It was 2 weeks ago. It was their 16-12 win over Naventic. And DaZed was super tilted in this. You can go watch the VOD. But what's interesting is he only behaved in a way that is just normal to him. It happens when he gets super mad, if a game's way harder than it should be, if he's frustrated in himself, if he thinks the teams aren't following the calls. And again, people just went absolutely hog wild, over the top with their abuse. DaZed was in full tilt mode, that's fine. DaZed is toxic. DaZed gets tilted easy. This is the old days. We're getting old DaZed back. DaZed gets carried. God, I hate my teammates. People were just really going in. DaZed so toxic. Friendship ended with GX. Now I'm going to follow Talked. Holy shit, DaZed is toxic. Gets out AWP'd. Blames it on Dapper. Now, I watched this game. There was a bunch of times where people on his team did make fucking mistakes that probably shouldn't be happening, and DaZed reacted to them poorly. And DaZed was frustrated because of his own level of performance as well. But what people are missing is there's another fundamental pressure here. The only thing that DaZed or any of these players could realistically get out of forming this team in the first place, sure, for guys like Dapper, it was experience and guidance and education. But for guys like AZK and Brax, who've been there and done that and have brands of their own, the only thing they could really get out of this was like streaming the game, building a brand, getting some awareness, you know? So DaZed made the decision to put it on his stream. I think this was probably a mistake if he ever wanted. I don't know if he cares about this, but if he ever wanted to win over the community, once the comms are laid out there bare, everybody's like, oh my God, aren't these guys disgusting? Sometimes in a team, harsh fucking language gets used. People say shit, people go emo, people tilt, people are passive aggressive, people refuse to follow instructions. It can get heated. One of the most important things you will do as a manager in a team isn't, or a coach even, it isn't sort of like tell the players how to play the game. They already know that. It's conflict resolution. And this is all I ever used to do in my career. Do you notice two players were having little snipes at each other in a game? Let's call a fucking timeout. Let's take a pause. Let's resolve this. Why are we doing this? This is silly. Look, this is his point. This is his point. Now, come on, right? And remember, he's the leader, so he got to suck it up. Let's go win the game. And just bring it all down a little bit. That's the kind of shit you have to do. That's the minutia. Now, DaZed is out there just putting it on his stream because obviously he's got to get something out of this experience, out of this experiment, out of his comeback. He's got to get something from it. These games are effectively so far down the trough. He's not going to get any money out of this. He's not going to get a salary out of this. He's not going to go to a cash prize tournament, a big one. He's got to fucking get something. That's just normal. If you're going to put that kind of work in, you should get something out of it. One of the problems that iBuyPower had back in the fucking day was they weren't salaried. No wonder they looked for other means to make money. So he's streaming it, and then people are getting all this insight into it, and they just wreck him for it. And that's absurd to me. You may disagree with his in-game leadership philosophy, but he isn't the only in-game leader in World Counter-Strike like that. There's plenty of them. And you don't know they're like that because they don't personally stream their fucking games from their POV for you to get that insight into. So loads of people were wrecking DaZed, and I thought that was just really unnecessarily harsh. Whatever you think about DaZed's approach to the game, you can criticize that, you can have a philosophical discussion about that, but wrecking him and making broad sweeping statements over when he has a bad game and gets upset and gets frustrated, it seems to be very unfair. So the other thing that people haven't took into consideration while whining about how dare DaZed quit is that he is doing 3 jobs within this organization. And nobody's given him credit for this. So DaZed was acting as a general manager. He was the one out there looking at contracts, talking to sponsors, having the meetings, planning what was going to happen to the future of the team. So he's doing that. Then he's also coaching the team. Outside of the game, and sometimes in the game, he's micromanaging the players. He's got newer players. He's telling them how to play. He's telling them, this is what we need to do here, and this is how you play this situation. Outside of the game, he's doing it as well. So he's the coach. In-game, he's the in-game leader. He calls the tactics. He reads the opposition. He's got to do all of this. And also, of course, he's got to contribute as a player as well. And he's trying to do this while also being, okay, I need to be available for broadcasting opportunities and I need to stream because that's what puts fucking food on my table. Now, if you were doing all of that, let me tell you, you might be a little bit fucking stressed. I know it's hard for you to empathize because obviously you just see like, oh, bloody hell, you know, I work a job. You never hear me whine about it. Let me tell you, when you work in esports, any role, it ain't like a regular 9 or 5. There's few industries that I can look at and sort of say, well, those guys would get it. Go talk to a games developer when crunch time rolls in. Right? And you're working 12, 16-hour days for weeks at a time with no breaks, away from your family, juggling this, juggling that. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. You know, I saw Moses, just as an aside, he just happened to mention, yeah, being a member of talent can be difficult sometimes. You know, I go home for 4 days and then I'm away for another 17. I'm living in hotel rooms. I'm jet lagged. And there's people in that thread going, well, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. As if you're not allowed to acknowledge that something isn't perfect and sort of say, yeah, I do sort of make some sacrifices to do this. I don't know if it's rooted in envy or jealousy or just stupidity. I don't know what it is, but people sort of saying like, oh, well, you know, no one has to do this. You think his job's hard? Go and get a job at McDonald's. Well, I mean, first of all, he's probably had jobs at McDonald's and jobs like that. We all have. I have. He has. Everybody in talent has. It's not like we don't have. We've never had life experience. And also, as well, I guarantee you, the best thing about working a job like that was when I said to my boss, bye, and I went home for the evening. That was it. My boss didn't call me up at fucking 9 p.m. going, hey, jump on a server, Rich. Got to go over some fucking flashbangs. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, mate. Fuck off. I'm off work. Bang. And that's the work-life balance. People in esports don't have a work-life balance generally because if you're trying to get somewhere, if you're not at the very top, if you haven't made your money, every minute you spend has to be going towards something else. And in DaZed's case, he's doing 5 things. And obviously, it's too fucking much. Now, if the team had a promising future and there was money available, right, he probably would have said, yeah, I'll take a back step from broadcasting. Maybe I'll stream less. But there wasn't. And equally, everybody was saying, well, fuck it, it's GX, man. DaZed, you're back. Come on, this is it. This is what you wanted. 2 years ago, we had a clip of you saying, oh, I'd pay $20,000 or whatever just to be allowed to compete again. That's a long time in esports. That's a long time in life. That's a long time as you're transitioning out of your late 20s, heading towards your 30s. Perspective changes. So I was amazed about this, like that people aren't actually giving DaZed any fucking respect or credit for just how much he's doing in this team. So anyway, the inevitable Reddit thread went up, and I'll just show you some of the comments because again, this is mind-blowing to me that people could type stuff like this and genuinely mean it. So here we go. Can't believe he couldn't make it until the end of one season. What a bad move. It will leave a bad aftertaste for a lot of people. I mean, this guy's out of his mind. I don't really want to watch the stream YouTube of a quitter. He should have stuck to it at least until the end of the season and pulled through. Feels like he took more time forming the team than playing in the end. And this guy's got 81 upvotes. And, you know, he should have done it for the community that fought for him and the iBuyPower guys to be unbanned. These are 2 separate fucking issues. If he was unbanned, this would be a completely different issue. And even if he still wanted to retire then, he should be allowed to do it. What kind of world do we live in where there's fans out there like saying, oh, fucking hell, players, you hate playing, you're not having a good time, you're not that good anymore, but bloody keep on grinding because I want to keep on watching. This is like the stories you hear about South American football clubs, like when Pablo Escobar threatened his favorite Colombian footballers with assassination if they didn't keep playing for him. I think Renny Higuita, the goalkeeper, was one of them, if I remember rightly. But, you know, this is absurd. It's absurd. Look, really, dude, come on. GX played 11 matches. There's numerous teams that don't even make it to double figures, right? It's insane. And then look at this. Again, 617. I think a lot of his appeal as a streamer is going to disappear with this announcement. Hope he's thought this through. Hint, hint. We are the Reddit mob. We will take away your livelihood because you have displeased us. That's what I'm afraid of. That now, that IBP mystique is going to fade away and his streaming and YouTube career is going to grind to a halt. He wasn't playing in a team when his stream was going up and up and up. He was banned. What fucking mindset is this? Like, who are you people that believe this? Like, all of it, well, that's it. The comeback's over, so I guess he's completely worthless in the space. Like, you can't be fucking serious. You can't really believe this. But these people do. This isn't ironic, fun. This is like what people say and people believe and people upvote. If he's had enough, let the cunt retire. Let him fucking have a break. He's had, right, and some of it's his own fault. A lot of it's his own fault. He made a bad call with the match fixing thing. You all saw how stressed out and depressed he was. You all saw how much fucking weight he lost. You all saw he was playing all hours of the night, confused, didn't know what to do with himself, directionless, eyes like piss holes in the snow, fucking out of his mind, depressed. You all watched that. I watched that, right? And then what did he say? He fucking said, well, maybe if I can just hold out. And he did, and he held out, and he held out, and he held out, and he tried things, and he continually streamed Counter-Strike, and he went on broadcasts, didn't he? And he was commentating, and we thought it was brilliant. He was doing analysis, and we thought it was brilliant. And he was making YouTube videos, and we were like, yeah, this is brilliant. Wow, DaZed has such a great mind. But now that he's realised playing isn't for him, like, what kind of fucking entitled brats are you that believe that? It's fucking outrageous. It's the dumbest argument I have ever seen made by the Counter-Strike community. This is a Counter-Strike community that thought Babam was getting bullied because we asked him to do his job. You know, like, I've seen some fucking nonsense dredge up from that fucking cesspit. But holy shit, you can't be real. You're not going to let a veteran just, he's had enough. And think about it. Think about how fucking stressful it is. He's micromanaging 2 players. He's the manager for a team. He's got to bring in a sponsorship. He's streaming. He's on air. Like, fuck me, dudes. So anyway, he actually put a video out, right, that explained it. And I thought the video was super nice. You can go check it out. It's on his YouTube. It's the pinned tweet currently on his Twitter account. And this is all he said. He said he didn't throw his teammates under the bus. He literally put it all on himself. Now, I think he's being decent here. I think there's some legitimate criticisms of his teammates. I think they're not necessarily learning at the rate they can. Maybe it's DaZed's teaching style, his in-game style, that turns them off a little bit. But I've definitely seen games where it's like, how are you still making these mistakes? Like, DaZed has literally told you in other games not to do this. You're playing the same map. You're doing the same things. Even I can see that with my very low-level understanding, as I'm perpetually reminded of. But in his video, DaZed didn't put it on his teammates at all. He said, 1, he wasn't happy with his own level of performance, and 2, he felt even as an in-game leader, he was slipping a little bit. He said he felt slow and that he was letting the players down because he was starting to feel his age and he wasn't processing information quick enough. These are valid reasons to not compete anymore. You know, we've got too many people in esports that aren't good enough and cruise on reputation and take money and take adoration. And when we all just go, oh, but why won't you just quit? Time to retire. Every time Virtus Pro lose a game, time to retire. We finally get a guy who fucking retires and says, shit, I thought I could do it. I'm completely fucking wrong. Fuck the comeback. And how dare you let down the community? You can't fucking win. So the reaction is what blew my mind. Now, I'll give some advice to Daze. Daze will probably watch this. How you doing, Sam? So I'll give you some advice. Like, I'm an old man. Fuck, we come through this game together. I'm old now. I like to think I've learned a few things. And I'll tell you this. So first of all, as should be clear from what I'm saying, nobody nobody should hold it against you that you're retiring, right? Nobody should fucking hold that against you at all. What I will say is that you probably have made a bit of a knee-jerk reaction here based on the stress and frustration of everything you're doing, and I can understand that. Now, as you get older, the thing that's going to get you through as a competitor, as a person, is being able to adapt, being able to react to the changes. You know, you don't want to end up like one of those assholes who keep living in the fucking past. You know the type. You know, they know they're getting a little bit tubbier. They know they're going balder. And instead of just kind of rolling with the punches, maybe going down the gym a little bit more, shaving their head and just moving forward, they get a wig, they get a corset, you know, and they keep living the lie in their brain. You probably won't be the same kind of in-game leader that you were back when you were active 2 or 3 years ago. That's not how it works. That's not how getting old works. But it doesn't mean you're shit. And it doesn't mean you don't have any worth or value in that role. What you need to do is go back to the drawing board, take this time, and do other things. Sure, build up that broadcasting career, build up that streaming career. But how can you be the best in-game leader with the skills at your availability now? Is it coaching maybe that you're going to be better suited to, so you don't have to worry about being on the server? Maybe that is just an overload. There's no reason why you couldn't be a coach. If teams are going to let you back to play, if tournament organizers are going to let you back to play, and obviously you're going to be allowed to stand behind the players. I think you can still do something on the server. I don't think you've been that bad, honestly. You've had a couple of absolute stinking games, and they've come kind of close together. But you just got to go away and just be like, look, yeah, the information is a little bit slow. Shit, I mean, the game's changed, right? Since you were an active competitor. There's a lot of new information to process, a new meta to process. Patches come a little bit faster these days. Changes come a little bit more frequently. It's a lot to process. So maybe you can't do that at the same speed. Maybe you need to focus on a different style of leadership. Maybe if you go to a more playbook style and stop trying to read the game on the fly, just have like rely on a lot of in-game leaders do this. They have a strong secondary caller that makes the calls in the middle of a round. Ask around. I'm sure you know the pros, same as I do, that do this. Ask how that works. Think about who that might be. Maybe now is the time you need a solid wingman to sort of lift up some of the slack. But more importantly, I think the reason your brain was operating at this kind of slower level that you could acutely feel is because you're trying to do too much. You can't... Dude, I coached a team, managed a team, and had a journalistic career. And I never had to worry about playing. If I had to do that on top, I'd be out of my motherfucking mind. I was out of my mind doing 3 jobs in esports. You can't do this much. And I think that's where it comes from. And I think that's why you feel stressed and burned out. And I think if you move away from running a team and try and slot into a team as an IGL and just an IGL and don't have to worry about all the stuff outside of it, you'll be okay. This was a big project. It was too much for one person and you had a good go. You gave it a run. And it failed. And look, at the end of the day, the GX boys are going to keep playing. I wish them all the best. Whitmer's going to jump in. I'm sure they'll be all right. I mean, Whitmer's an underrated player in my opinion. And I think he'll be relishing the opportunity to play alongside some of these guys. They might lack a bit of leadership. Hell, no reason you can't put your head around the corner, knock on the door, and give them a helping hand. That'd be nice. But whatever, dude. Like, just do what's best for you. Fuck all the noise. Fuck all the bullshit. And just do you. Because at the end of the day, the same people that are calling you a piece of shit today for retiring, they're going to come back in 2 weeks and be on your stream and be subscribing again and all that. This is just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. People just need something to complain about at any given moment. That's how it is. So, best of luck to you, brother. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts about the day's retirement and the insane community reaction. I hope you all in my channel agree with me at least. But whatever you think or feel, stick a comment down there if it's not too outrageous. I might even reply to it. All the best. See you on the next video.